Alrighty everyone, welcome back. Happy Sunday everybody. I hope you're all having an amazing weekend so far, and given that we are getting closer, by the way, to where we can finally see where Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1 garners its entire box office results, especially for this weekend, it's going to be interesting to see what the Monday numbers are going to look like, by the way, for Saturday through Sunday, as well as bundled up with Friday as well in there, to see and compare it to Indiana Jones 5. This is Mike Zero. Subscribe if you're new and like this video to see future updates. I'm also on Twitter at Mike01. I thank you all so very much for the great and kind support. And let's get right into exactly what's going on with Phoebe Waller-Bridge. Now, for those of you that do not know, Phoebe Waller-Bridge did actually contribute to the story of Indiana Jones 5. She actually told James Mangold, the director and writer of this film, to do this, or that in this movie. In fact, she is the one that came up with the idea for Helena Shaw to punch Indiana Jones out cold during the end, during the siege of Syracuse. That moment is all contributed by no other than Phoebe Waller. And there was a lot more, where that came from, because Phoebe actually told James that she wanted to do a lot of different things for this movie because she feels that she is a creator. James saw that because of what she did with Fleabag, and that's why he gave her a pass to contribute, because he also saw what she did with James Bond. And you know what? To a degree, it's also James Mangold's fault for even allowing Phoebe to contribute. But moving on to the main thing here is that with Phoebe Waller-Bridge still promoting Indy 5 during the box office collapse, she recently got on the subject of the Indy 5 backlash and the current box office situation. Now, Phoebe went on to deliver the following to the fans. Well, obviously this is a great film, so I don't think us not meeting our box office expectations necessarily means it's a poor film creatively. I think we were just dealing with negative word of mouth from a bunch of fake fans who claimed to be fans that grew up with the franchise that didn't want us to succeed, and that is quite sad actually, because James Mangold, with the help of Steven Spielberg and myself, really contributed to this story, and we really tried to make this one successful, or the most successful Indiana Jones film, on both ends of the spectrum. This film is a film that obviously offends those that are not in support of diversity, equality, and female leads in a story, and I have seen this happen with Star Wars, I have seen this happen with Marvel, so I am not surprised that this is happening with Indiana Jones. Alright, guys, let me just stop here quick about what Phoebe is putting out there. So she claims that the reason why this movie failed is because of all these fake fans, quote unquote, by the way, that we are the ones that actually were the cause of why this movie failed at the box office. Now, that's actually not the case, guys, obviously. The real reason why is creatively this movie is very dull, it's depressing, it's very dry. I don't know if you guys saw it, but I did weeks ago, and when you see this movie, I can't explain it. It very much is similar to The Last Jedi, where you just feel depressed, it feels very dull, it has no soul to it, you don't feel much emotion, it's long in a way because of how grueling it really is to sit through this thing. That's just my experience. I know some people love this, but look, there's other people that love The Last Jedi too, let's be honest about this. So that's where things begin to get very complex, is the fact that you have people out there like Phoebe Waller saying that there's a lot of fake fans that claim to be fans, blah, 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 and how we are the ones that actually were the cause of why this movie failed at the box office. Now, look, it's several factors. Let's count them up, alright? It had to do with the story, it had to do with the marketing, technically a little bit there too. A lot of it had to do with the release of Sound of Freedom, Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning, Insidious Chapter 5, and to top it on the list here, who was really asking for an Indiana Jones 5 movie? Alright, who was really asking for this, let alone seeing a far older version of Indiana Jones on the big screen? I think that, at peak, we left things off with Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. That's about how old he should have ever gotten in the Indiana Jones franchise. Pushing it past that, it begins to get a little ridiculous. That's just my take on things. But anyways, moving onwards. She goes on to elaborate further. I know Kathy is still discussing sequels, so we aren't stopping here. Oh, great. Neither do we have any intention to give up this brand. There are many directions we can go in to make this work. I firmly believe that we are just dealing with a different generation that doesn't like anything that they claim deals with promoting diversity and equality for women. They always pull this card, by the way, guys. They always pull, like, equality and female leads and diversity, and I'm just tired of hearing these words being spat out, you know, because it's nothing new. We've had this done perfectly in many pop culture movies out there in the past, throughout the 80s, the 90s, the 2000s, and beyond, and it was never a problem up until, like, I would say 2016, which is when this whole era began to start. Moving ahead, she goes on to conclude, so now I don't blame the box office report on the story. It's clearly from negative word of mouth that was completely unnecessary from false fans. We understand Indy is older in this one, but we needed a new main hero, such as Helena, to make it work effectively. And for those that don't like that, so be it, just deal with it. Just deal with it, she says. Alright, so look, this is a problem that we're dealing with every single time when a Lucasfilm project comes out into theaters. We've seen this with The Last Jedi, we've seen this with Solo, we've seen this with The Rise of Skywalker, and now Indiana Jones 5. Now look, with exception, I think Solo was an entertaining film at best. It just failed at the box office because they reshot pretty much the entire thing, 80% roughly, and they had to rehire a lot of cast and crew, and they had to actually get Ron Howard on board, so that was a pretty penny to get that project going. But when you look at The Last Jedi, it was a big failure, and The Rise of Skywalker was an even bigger embarrassment because it was basically trying to pick up the broken pieces from The Last Jedi and to put it back together again like Humpty Dumpty. And it's just not going to work realistically, and it didn't. You know, we saw little things there, like the Skywalker saber is fixed, and how Luke's ghost comes in with the saber and he says, a Jedi's weapon deserves much more respect, right? Something like that. Kind of like a little jab at Rian Johnson when he made Luke throw the saber over the cliff, right? So this is yet another failure, probably one of the biggest failures, I feel, even bigger than Solo, even though they didn't spend quite as much money with reshoots in a sense. It is a bigger failure box office-wise, and especially leadership-wise by Kathleen Kennedy. I mean, this is just a failure of epic proportions that we've talked about just yesterday, of how even a lot of Hollywood studios out there have blacklisted Kathleen Kennedy in Hollywood. They want nothing to ever do with her or Frank Marshall for the most part, and they never want her to come crawling to them if and when her time at Lucasfilm comes to an end, which, by the way, is why she is working on her own studio called Starlight Productions. We've been talking about this here for a year and a half. She wants to launch this thing in 2025 to become a major competitor against all things sci-fi and, you know, space opera. You know, Star Wars, Dune, Star Trek, etc., etc. So, yeah, guys, like I say, drop a comment below, fill me in below in the comments what you all have to say about this, and if you guys did enjoy the content for today, make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel, and I will catch you guys next time.
Night to move.